Hey, 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 you guys. Welcome to the Focus and Fulfilled podcast with the Busy Boss Mamas, where we like to empower busy moms to find more focus and passion in their lives so that they can create more deeper, meaningful fulfillment in their lives among all the mom things that we do every day. So, I think that's super important. And we're so excited that you're here. So, what's on our mind today? We want to talk about when you feel like you are just experiencing a lot of resistance for whatever reason. Like you're feeling like, man, my routines, I'm just feeling like a lot of tug in being able to get better routines down. Or maybe you're just feeling like you're kind of feeling super humdrum in the things that you're doing and the actions that you're taking in your everyday life, whether it's with your kids or whether it's the things that you're doing to take care of your home or whatever, where you're just like, gosh, I'm not feeling like I'm in the groove. You know how sometimes you have the feeling where you can't quite pinpoint like something specific that's different in what you're doing per se in the actions you're taking in whatever area it is, but you just feel different about it. Like you feel like there's more ease and flow in what you're doing. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes you're in it and with it, and sometimes you're not, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes you're doing something and you're feeling really pumped up. You're feeling pumped up and you're like, why in the world? What was it about yesterday or last week that I was feeling so pumped up and jazzed doing my stuff? I was getting all this stuff done. And then this week, I'm just having the hardest time. Or sometimes, especially as you get a little bit past your 20s, and you're looking at it and you're like, why could I do that? And I had so much fun doing those things when I was younger. And now I don't ask me to.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like we have different mood shifts and hormone
Yeah.
shifts and stuff that can play into like how we
Especially
feel
as
about our day.
women.
But yeah, especially as when we're not talking about that. We're talking about like just the times when you feel like, dang, I got it. Like,
Yeah. I was really
what
pumped up
was it?
doing those things.
What was it about that? Yeah. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that I think it is that most people don't realize is, and we talk about this sometimes, maybe you've heard us talk about this and maybe you haven't, is whether you're really playing in the natural strengths that you have, because we
Yeah.
all have different talents. We all know that we have different talents that we're
Mhm.
born with, right? But one of
But
the
we're
things
not
that we're,
talking about basketball or who's a really
no,
great
like,
artist. This is like what motivates you, what talents do you bring to the table as far as your relationships, how you strategize? Are you somebody who influences a lot of people? Or are you somebody who, really likes to work one on one with relationships? These are talents in regards to how you go about getting stuff accomplished and
right. And
what
how you
makes you
perform
feel
in
good
every
as you
day.
do it.
Yes.
Yes.
These talents that drive performance. So we've
And
been
it's
for the last,
positive psychology, just for
yeah,
anybody
we've
interested.
been involved in the last couple of years and like really learning more about this with your strengths. And it's from the Clifton Strengths Finder,
Yeah.
because we're
From
all, so
Gallup.
Gallup, if you've not heard of like the Gallup polls, they have
They're like the second largest polling firm in the world.
in the world, yeah.
The world.
So they study human performance is what they do, and they have the Clifton Strengths Finder test that you can take that helps you. It shows you what you're basically how you naturally think, feel, and behave to drive better
Mhm.
performance. So we highly recommend taking the Strengths
Yes.
Finder assessment
Yes.
because, and we talk about it from time to time on our podcast, because it is a huge factor
Yeah.
in how you feel, because this is all about like personal engagement in your life. And when you can understand the way that you're naturally wired, it's so much more. It's beyond, it's not like a personality test. It's like, um, are you driven by your relationships? Are you driven by this? Like the more you
Mhm.
learn about it and the more you learn, like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really,
It really helps
whoa,
you learn to
that's
love
so true about me.
yourself.
Like, huh?
It makes you learn to love yourself and appreciate the way you function.
Right. Like it's just been completely life changing. So we're going to talk about some tips on how you can tell even whether I know that a lot of people listening to this probably have never even heard of Clifton Strengths. So it's totally fine. You're still going to get value out of today. I encourage you, hopefully it'll pique your interest to be like, oh yeah, I kind of want to know what my natural strengths are. Go to gallup.com and go to their like solutions or services or whatever, and you'll find the Clifton Strengths Finder assessment. Life changing. But I mean, you have to learn how to utilize those talents and turn them into strengths, but whatever. We're not going to go too deep into that. But at any rate,
I'll post
the point of today
I'll post the link for those of you who are interested down below.
Right. But and we're not selling that, by the way.
No, we're not an affiliate.
Why are you telling us to do that? Are you going to make money?
Yeah, I know. There are a few things that we probably will put on here that we're affiliates for, but we'll announce that every time. But we are not affiliates of Gallup.
Yeah, so whatever. Anyway, basically, the point of what we're trying to say is that if you feel like you are having that resistance in what you're doing, that is your best indicator that you are not playing in your strengths today. You're not in
your talents.
You're not in your talents. You're not playing in your own ball court of where you are naturally wired for your own motivation. And when you learn what those things naturally are, you can choose in to playing in that area. So like I'm just going to use an example for myself. My number one strength is responsibility. So it's really people high in the responsibility theme take their responsibilities very seriously. So if I don't get done what I say I'm going to do, it really makes me feel like crap. So now that when I have days where I'm just trudging, I can look at that and go, oh, that's my responsibility. And it's because maybe even though I got a lot of things done today,
this happened last week to you. She got a ton done. She got a ton done in all week. She was like, I'm getting a lot done, but then I still have all this stuff on my list I have to get done. And she had to keep telling herself to get the responsibility under control and not allow it to just make her feel like a terrible, not getting anything done person.
Right. But if I have a responsibility, like maybe I have a day where I only get 1 or 2 things done, but they were things that I really chose into, I can feel really great. So I know that about myself now. And I know like, okay, I need to be very deliberate about choosing into what it is that is going to make me feel good today and only allow myself to hone in on those things. And once those are done, I have to give myself a pat on the back and allow that celebration. And we all have different things that motivate us. Not everybody has, like responsibility is a big thing to me. It's not for some people. So,
and you're never, the funny thing is there are 34 of these strengths and you never, like, I didn't expect to get the ones that I got on there so high. My number one is input. I really like information. I value quite a bit of information. So I take in a lot of information and I find that sometimes I'm procrastinating my work of things I need to get done because I insist on just absorbing so much dang information about stuff. So I think this is one of the reasons I've hated cooking so much is because I spend so much time having to look at recipes and I will feel like I didn't get it done or I feel almost like a turtle on its back if I don't look at enough recipes to find out what it is I'm going to cook and to make sure that everything, like I'm going to have enough groceries and I don't want to buy 4 different kinds of meat. So I need to make sure I only have, so many Mexican food meals and Italian meals and American meals, but they can't have too much different meats. And I just make a huge mess of it. And then I'll spend hours researching recipes and not getting other stuff done that I need to. And that's when I know I'm not using that strength right. Like I have to harness it to let myself know, okay, you get to look at something for an hour, or I only get to look at 10 recipes total or 5. I don't get to sit and search every single recipe on America's Test Kitchen.
Right. And like I said, you don't have to have your strengths report to be able to start getting an inkling of like
Yeah.
what feels good to you. Like gauge your everyday normal chores. Like if you have a job and you're working, like start paying attention to when you feel really engaged and alive in your work
Hmm.
or in your home in what you're doing with, even if you're doing laundry or doing the dishes, what is it? What are some of the common traits of what you're doing or how you make something feel super engaging?
Yeah.
What are the common things? Like, is it that you really love to listen to music when you do the laundry or listen to music when you're working, or you really love working with a friend? Like, you know that you do your
Yeah.
best when you have a friend with you to get something done. Like
Or if
maybe,
you know your husband needs some pants, and so you don't mind doing laundry then because you want to get something for your husband.
right. So
Yeah.
that might be a hidden relationship strength that you
Hmm.
have. Maybe you don't know that you have it, but you are noticing like, oh, I
Yeah.
really love that service, or I really love doing this because it impresses somebody else, or I really love doing laundry because I really love the way it feels when I can get my towels organized just right in my
Hmm.
closet. Maybe you have an arranging strength. Maybe you have, you know, maybe you love strategy. And so maybe for you, you might feel super alive when you do get a really nice chore chart, different things like that. So if you're feeling like
Yeah.
you're in resistance to some sort of change that you need to make, ask yourself how you can more engage in that in a way that feels really emotionally fulfilling. Because when
Yeah.
you feel really positive emotions about something, that's a good sign that you're playing in those natural talents that you have. So,
Yes.
like our, our strengths mentor,
Well, and you don't
um,
even have to know the strengths. It really, really helps, and it helps you gain clarity quickly about all this and to be able to find out. But it does take you do need to take the time to stop and consider, what was it that I hated about cooking dinner last night? What was it that doesn't bother me so much about doing the laundry?
right. And that takes awareness, just like
Hmm.
anything. It takes awareness and just constant self-talk to yourself. Like, okay,
Good self-talk.
yeah, good self-talk. Like I'm really feeling um drudgery with this or that task. But when I do it this way, or when I involve my kids in helping me and we're having a super fun, positive experience, I really like it.
Hmm.
Then start to try to incorporate those types of um what am I trying to say? In all your
Those
tasks,
elements.
trying to incorporate those elements into all the
Hmm.
tasks that you do, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, it doesn't really matter, because your talents, your natural talents, drive every behavior that you
Yeah.
do. That drives
Yeah.
your relationships, it drives your performance in your work, it drives your
Yeah.
performance in your um I mean, with your spiritual life, with your parenting, with all the things.
Yeah.
And your kids have these things too. So um
Yeah. If you don't mind doing laundry, if it's on your to-do list and you have an exact time you're going to do it, well, then start doing it then. Like, schedule it in if you have to.
right, right. And I think it's important, especially as moms, that we are learning to love ourselves better and realize that we are all very, very different, and what motivates us is very, very different. And so if we can just find how to work within the talents and the inclinations that we already have, then we're living more authentically and we're becoming the best versions of ourselves. And that's really what it's about. If we can become the best versions of ourselves and live intentionally in every way, then that is really the key to becoming more focused and fulfilled. So if you want to learn more about what we're talking about, and you're like, man, I'm kind of intrigued, but I don't really understand, feel free to reach out to us at support@busybossmama.com. And if you
Yep.
want more, like,
And we'll send you some more. I mean, I love input. So I've got all kinds of things that I can share.
yep,
But
I know,
we've committed to not being fire hoses during our podcasts because both of us, we love to fire hose people with information.
I know, because we're both information hogs, because input is one of both of our top strengths. And so we love that. And so we know that's what drives us. And so, like, we know that if we want to move forward in something, we have to have enough information to do it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we're going to freeze and we're going to feel a lot of apprehension about something. So, if we need to do something, we know we have to gather enough information, but then we have to put boundaries around that. Like Crystal saying, okay, I can't spend 5 hours looking for information. So, I just need to do that. Like, I'm only going to allow myself to look up such and such amount of things. And like for us with this
Yes.
podcast, because we could seriously sit on here and like blow just
Mhm.
blow off loads and loads of information to you, we have to like be like, okay, we're going to keep this to no more than like 15-20 minutes. We're going to talk about this one thing and that's it. And
Yes.
so we have to do that. So but if you that's one of the things that we've done with like helping moms with habits, and our focus and fulfilled in 5 days experience is like we have gathered together all this information on hacking your brain with actual practical tools to help you stop feeling like you're on the hamster wheel every day.
Yep.
And so we
It's
love
a
collecting that information, sharing with you.
yeah, it's pretty much a challenge crash course because it's 5 days. Pretty condensed, but it's a crash course. And then, of course, we have tons more information to share elsewhere. So,
Yeah. So if you want practical strategies and tips on um, getting some better routines in place and your own kind of like personal productivity formula that you can like incorporate the strengths of what we've talked about of like into your own, day of like, okay, well, how do I implement all this? Um, we encourage you to keep going on that journey of understanding what makes you feel good in everything you do. But check out our Focus and Fulfill in 5 days for those practical tips and strategies at
definitely.
www.busybossmama.com/focused. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Goodbye.